Hello everyone, today I will be doing my presentation on conflict in relationships for interpersonal communications as my final project. So let's get started. First, I would like to define conflict in relationships, and I believe in order to define conflict in relationships, we must first define what a conflict is. According to Chapter 9, simplistically, conflict is an interactive process occurring when conscious beings, individuals, or groups have opposing or incompatible actions, beliefs, goals, ideas, motives, needs, objectives, obligations, resources, and/or values. So, conflicts in relationships can vary depending on your interpretation of the definition, but overall, it is a disagreement between two companions. I would also like to note that within Chapter 9, there are so many different definitions as to what a conflict is. We'll get into that later into the slides, but that's why I said that it all depends on your interpretation of the definition, because it can vary depending to each person. Conflict and defensiveness in relationships blocks effective communication and resolution and often triggers a cycle of escalation where both parties stop listening and start attacking. You'll see this in the clip that I used from My Wife and Kids, but there are different reasons as to why someone may have conflict in their relationship, and according to Chapter 9, a substantive disagreement is a disagreement that people have about a specific topic or issue, while procedural disagreements are concerned with procedure, how a decision should be reached, or how a policy should be implemented. In the scene, My Wife and Kids, Jay and Michael are arguing. And in this scene, Jay discovers that Michael has kept a picture of his ex-girlfriend, Sharon, and this leaves her feeling hurt and betrayed, so she decides to confront Michael about it. Michael feels caught off guard, but also becomes defensive and is insisting that the picture means nothing and that he simply forgot it was there. The conversation then escalates and both parties begin to expressing their feelings, which leads to a very heated argument. Demonstration of conflict in their relationship. Jay and Michael arguing over the picture demonstrates an example of a substantive argument because their conflict is not just emotional, though it will become emotional, but it's rooted in real disagreements about values, trust, and and marital boundaries, making it a textbook example of substantive conflict. Their argument isn't just about a photo. It's about what the photo represents. Jay sees it as a symbol of disrespect and emotional betrayal, while Michael sees it as a harmless accident. Their perspectives on the photo show how Jay is a battler, I believe. I believe that their perspectives on the photo show how Jay is a battler when it comes to conflict and Michael is an avoider. I say this because according to Chapter 9, battlers believe that conflict should take on an approach where the battler must win the conflict at all costs without regard to the damage they might cause along the way, while avoiders simply deny. In terms of conflict styles, Jay is a battler. She brings the issue to the table head on with strong emotional investment. She wants acknowledgement and resolution now. And on the other hand, Michael is an avoider because he would rather minimize the situation and pretend it's not a big deal. According to the textbook, when battlers and avoiders clash, they often misread each other's motives. Jay sees Michael's avoidance as disrespect or an indifference, and Michael sees Jay's directness as overreacting or picking a fight, but really they're both trying to protect their relationship, just in completely different ways. Though we should recognize that their styles are crucial for navigating conflict more effectively. I believe this scene is a great example of how conflict in a relationship goes beyond the surface issue, because on the outside it's just a photo, but the emotions beyond it are rooted in much deeper things. such as trust, loyalty, and the fear of not being emotionally prioritized. In romantic relationships, conflict hits harder because there's more at stake. According to Chapter 9, Chapter 9 highlights that we're emotionally invested. We bring in past experiences, unspoken expectations, and sometimes unrealistic hopes. Jay's reaction isn't just about the photo, it's about whether Michael fully sees and values her. Michael's reaction isn't just about avoidance, it's a fear of confrontation and not knowing how to respond without making things worse. This is what I believe they did right. Jay, she brought up the issue directly. She didn't feel surprised to her feelings. She was just very open. You'll see that clip. And she showed that she values honesty and emotional clarity. While Michael stayed calm, even though he was dismissive, he stayed calm, which didn't escalate the situation more than it needed to be. And he prevented the conflict from turning aggressive or hostile because although Jane was upset, he allowed her to be upset and didn't match her level of anger, if you know what I mean. Excuse me. This is what I believe they did wrong. Michael invalidated Jay's feelings a lot, making her feel not heard, and he avoided responsibility, while Jay entered the conversation with a strong accusation. Conflict resolution fails when emotion outweighs empathy, because when you're too when you let your emotions take control of a situation, you tend to only see your side. You don't see both ends. So yeah. This is what I think they could have done better. Jay could have used I statements instead of accusations, such as I felt uncomfortable with the photos I saw, or I feel as though you shouldn't have this. She should have used I statements. Using I statements reduces defensiveness and opens the door to dialogue, which would have allowed Michael to feel more comfortable to talk. And according to the textbook, using I language communicates personal feelings rather than blame. And Michael could have validated Jay's feelings more because he was just so dismissive towards her. He could have said things like, I see why that could have bothered you. I didn't mean to hurt you, And that would have built emotional safety and trust between the two, so that there isn't that sense of, oh my God, my husband is cheating on me for Jay. And in the textbook, it references acknowledging a partner's emotional reality is crucial to repairing trust. Because, like I said, he was very dismissive towards her. So, yeah. That was my presentation and how I believe conflict in relationships connected to the clip of My Wife and Kids. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.